Good evening, it's Wednesday the 18th of June and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Diplomatic standoff. Prime Minister Modi firmly rejects President Trump's offer of mediation on Kashmir conflict. Emergency evacuation. Pakistan successfully evacuates hundreds of stranded students and pilgrims from Iran amid crisis. Creative tribute. High school student surprises classmates with heartfelt personalized portraits at graduation ceremony.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Akhil Qureshi.
Good evening once again. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has firmly rejected US claims of mediating recent ceasefire with Pakistan, emphasizing the truce was reached solely through direct military talks between the two countries. The clarification came during Modi's call with President Trump.
During a phone conversation on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Canada, Prime Minister Modi told President Trump that India had never accepted and continues not to accept any third-party mediation concerning the ceasefire with Pakistan. This statement directly counters President Trump's earlier remarks suggesting that the United States played a central role in brokering the May ceasefire after a 4-day military conflict between the nuclear-armed neighbors. The ceasefire, which ended hostilities from the 7th of May to the 10th of May, were confirmed by Indian officials to have resulted from direct communications between Indian and Pakistani military leaders. India's top diplomat, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, reiterated in a video statement that India's stance on refusing third-party mediation remains unchanged, reinforcing the nation's preference for bilateral engagement over international intervention in such sensitive matters. The recent exchange marks the first direct phone conversation between Modi and Trump since the conflict, underscoring the significance of diplomatic clarity between the two leaders. While President Trump initially claimed US involvement in de-escalating tensions, India's firm denial highlights ongoing complexities in South Asia's geopolitical landscape and emphasizes India's commitment to managing bilateral issues internally.
Hundreds of Pakistani students and pilgrims have returned to Quetta after being evacuated from Iran amid escalating regional tensions. Authorities confirmed the Taftan border crossing remains open for repatriation, while another key crossing of Pajpur has been closed indefinitely.
Over 700 Pakistanis, comprising 545 pilgrims and 207 students, arrived safely in Quetta today, following their evacuation from Iran through the Taftan border crossing. The operation was coordinated by Pakistan's Ministry of Interior, the Home Department and diplomatic officials in Tehran. Mohammad Hamza Shafkat, the Commissioner of Quetta, stated that officials worked swiftly to resolve the visa and logistical challenges, ensuring the safe return of all citizens, including those stranded in Tehran and surrounding areas. Among the returnees were students from the Iran University of Medical Sciences. The attacks, which occurred late on Friday night, targeted high-ranking personnel, including Revolutionary Guard officials and scientists. Though the students were not physically harmed, the proximity of the violence heightened concerns and triggered the coordinated evacuation. Pakistan has since closed the Panjshir border crossing with Iran indefinitely due to deteriorating security situations in the region. However, the Taftan crossing remains open for both repatriation and essential trade activities. Local authorities in Balochistan have arranged transportation to send the returnees to their respective hometowns, ensuring continued coordination amid an uncertain regional climate. Officials emphasize the government's commitment to safeguarding its citizens during such geopolitical crises.
North Korea is sending over 6,000 military personnel to Russia's Kursk region to aid in reconstruction and demining efforts, deepening its alliance with Moscow. The move follows high-level meetings and has drawn strong criticism from South Korea and international observers.
North Korea is sending thousands of military construction workers to Russia's Kursk region, including 5,000 construction workers to rebuild damaged infrastructure and 1,000 sappers to clear the area of landmines. The decision was announced by Russia's top security official Sergei Shoigu after he met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in Pyongyang on Tuesday afternoon, their second meeting in just 2 weeks.
It's a gesture of brotherly support from the North Korean people and their leader, Kim Jong-un.
North Korea is believed to have already sent some 12,000 combat troops to Russia's Kursk region since October. South Korean intelligence says around 600 have been killed, with total casualties nearing 4,700. Analysts say Pyongyang's support isn't without strings, and it's likely expecting a payoff.
North Korea will likely get advanced systems like the Pantsir air defense weapon and reconnaissance satellite technology.
Professor Kim added that Pyongyang will also likely receive oil and food supplies in return, crucial support as it struggles under sanctions and isolation. Other analysts say the visit also reflects shared concerns over Washington's recent signals regarding the situation in the Middle East.
With Trump doubling down on saying Iran must never get nuclear weapons, Russia may be reassuring North Korea, which has taken real risks for Moscow and still wants full recognition as a nuclear power.
Pyongyang gave no details on the new deployment, but said the two sides exchanged views on global and regional issues and reached full consensus. Meanwhile, South Korea criticized the move, saying employing North Korean workers abroad violates UN Security Council resolutions, and called on Pyongyang and Moscow to immediately stop their cooperation.
Thousands of Cambodians marched through Phnom Penh today, showing public support for their government amid rising tensions with Thailand over a long-standing border dispute. The demonstration comes as diplomatic efforts continue and Cambodia escalates the issue to International Court of Justice. Take a look.
The state-organized march in Phnom Penh drew thousands of participants, including monks, students and citizens waving national flags and chanting patriotic slogans. Leading the demonstration was Deputy Prime Minister Hun Mai, brother of Prime Minister Hun Manet. Protesters carried portraits of both the current and former Prime Ministers, signaling unified public and political backing amid the latest border dispute with Thailand, which reignited after a Cambodian soldier was killed near a contested zone in May. At the heart of the dispute are 4 contested areas along an 820-kilometer Cambodia-Thailand border, where several ancient temple sites remain flashpoints. Although both nations held talks recently in Phnom Penh to ease tensions, no agreement was reached. However, both sides have pledged to continue diplomatic dialogue, with the next round of bilateral discussions scheduled for September. These tensions echo past flare-ups, including the 2008-2011 military clashes around the Preah Vihar temple area. Cambodia has now taken the step of bringing the territorial issue before the International Court of Justice, a move it argues is necessary for a peaceful and legal resolution. Thailand, however, has rejected the ICJ's jurisdiction in this matter, maintaining that disputes should be settled through bilateral mechanisms only. The Cambodian government has framed the public rally as both a patriotic demonstration and a message of unity, reinforcing its legal and diplomatic stance on the global stage.
Amid escalating tensions between Iran and Israel, President Trump cut short his G7 summit visit to lead urgent security talks in Washington. Now, warnings Iran leader is an easy target, Trump signals possible military action while weighing diplomatic options.
As the conflict between Israel and Iran continues to escalate, U.S. President Donald Trump convened a National Security Council meeting in Washington. Taking to social media on Tuesday ahead of the talks, Trump warned that the U.S. knows where Iran's supreme leader is hiding and called for unconditional surrender. He added that while the Iranian leader is an easy target, they are not going to kill him, at least for now. Following the 18-minute NSC meeting, CNN reported that Trump is warming to the idea of using U.S. military assets to strike Iran, and that he spoke by phone with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. American strategic bombers equipped with bunker-busting munitions are seen as a key component of any potential operation aimed at disabling Iran's Fordo nuclear facility, although U.S. military officials have emphasized their defensive nature. So far, Washington's involvement in the conflict has remained defensive, supporting Israel by helping intercept Iranian missile attacks. The U.S. already has significant military presence in the region, including troops, warplanes and air defense systems equipped to neutralize aerial threats. While the White House has yet to issue an official statement regarding the outcome of the NSC talks, analysts suggest that the administration may also be preparing a diplomatic proposal alongside its military options. On Monday, Israel issued evacuation orders affecting 300,000 people in central Tehran. President Trump took to his social media platform on the same day, urging civilians to immediately evacuate the Iranian capital. The U.S. State Department has since launched a task force to assist American citizens and residents seeking to leave the region. As the situation unfolds, global attention is now on whether the United States will enter the Israel-Iran conflict with military support or push for peaceful negotiations.
Let's go into a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. Welcome back. President Donald Trump will be extending the deadline for ByteDance to divest TikTok's US assets by 90 days. Despite a law requiring a sale of shutdown, the White House says the move allows more time for negotiations and regulatory reviews.
Donald Trump is again putting back the deadline for a decision on whether TikTok can keep operating in the US. The White House said Tuesday that he would extend a June 19th cutoff by 90 days. Trump has already reprieved the short video app twice. It was supposed to shut down in the US by January 19th, unless Chinese owner ByteDance divested all its assets in the country. But Trump has sought to avoid that, after crediting the app with helping him win over young voters in last year's election.
I'd like to save TikTok. TikTok was very good to me.
He's previously suggested he could cut tariffs on China to get a deal done, and predicted that Chinese leader Xi Jinping would ultimately agree to the move. Speaking last week, Trump again indicated he wanted to avoid a shutdown.
I just saw with TikTok, I was #1 on TikTok in its history. Can you believe that? So I guess I like TikTok. That's why they're saying, are you saving? And we probably will save TikTok, actually.
In the spring, a deal had been in the works to spin off TikTok's US-based operations into a new firm that would be US majority-owned. But that was put on hold after Beijing indicated it wouldn't approve the move, following Trump's imposition of sweeping tariffs on its exports. Democratic lawmakers say the US president has no legal power to extend the ban deadline, and suggest the deal under consideration could be illegal.
New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon has arrived in China for his first official visit, aiming to strengthen diplomatic and economic ties. His trip includes tourism agreements, visa policy updates and high-level talks with President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang.
Prime Minister Christopher Luxon began his multi-day visit to China by witnessing the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding between Tourism New Zealand and Trip.com. The agreement is aimed at boosting inbound travel from China, one of New Zealand's largest pre-pandemic tourist markets. Luxon emphasized that increasing Chinese visitor numbers is vital to revitalizing New Zealand's tourism economy and promoting bilateral engagement beyond politics. This visit marks Luxon's first to China since becoming Prime Minister in November of 2023. He is scheduled to travel to Beijing on Friday for meetings with Chinese President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang. Luxon reaffirmed New Zealand's commitment to maintaining robust ties with China, its largest trading partner, while also seeking to balance economic cooperation with regional security interests, especially amid growing geopolitical shifts in the Pacific. Coinciding with Luxon's visit, New Zealand announced a 12-month visa waiver trial beginning in November for Chinese passport holders arriving from Australia with valid Australian visas. This mirrors China's 2023 move to grant visa-free access to New Zealanders, signaling mutual efforts to ease travel restrictions. The visit also comes amid increasing concern from Western allies over China's expanding presence in the Pacific, a strategic region where traditional security alliances are being tested.
Prime Minister Mark Carney welcomed global leaders at the G7 summit in Kananaskis yesterday, aiming to bridge diplomatic rifts, most notably with India, while standing firm in support of Ukraine and unveiling fresh sanctions on Russia, alongside Middle Eastern warnings as well.
Canada, holding the G7 presidency, hosted outreach leaders including India's Narendra Modi, marking the first bilateral meeting since the Trudeau-era diplomatic rift, alongside Mexico's Claudia Sheinbaum and UN Chief Antonio Guterres. Carney and Modi agreed to reappoint high commissioners, restore diplomatic ties and explore cooperation in technology, food security and critical minerals. Despite ongoing tensions, massive disagreements surfaced over the support for Ukraine. Trump's early departure and remarks backing Putin intensified divisions. Yet Canada pressed ahead, announcing a $2 billion Canadian military package and new Russian sanctions targeting shadow fleet vessels and key individuals. Carney framed these as essential steps towards bolstering Ukraine's sovereignty. The summit also addressed Middle East volatility with G7 leaders, signaling Iran as a prime destabilizer. Carney underlined the group's stance, reinforcing sanctions and peace commitments. Talks on trade friction continued, but Canada urged allies to enact reciprocal tariff measures while unveiling a critical minerals production alliance to fuel advanced industries.
The UK Parliament has voted 379 to 137 to decriminalise abortion in England and in Wales by amending a Victorian-era law dating back to 1861, ending potential criminal prosecutions under the archaic regulations and safeguarding women's reproductive autonomy moving forward.
Britain's Parliament voted on Tuesday to decriminalise abortion in England and Wales.
The ayes were right, 379.
Lawmakers voted 379 to 137 to end prosecutions of women for ending pregnancies. Abortions have been legal in England and Wales for nearly 60 years, but only up until 24 weeks and with 2 doctors' approvals. Women choosing to end a pregnancy after that could face criminal charges and up to life in prison. While criminal charges for breaking the law are rare, they've risen since the pandemic, when a change in the law allowed abortion pills to be taken at home within 10 weeks of conception. Tonya Antoniazzi, a Labour Member of Parliament who proposed the amendment, said the law had been used to investigate 100 women in the last 5 years. That included some women who had given birth prematurely or had been forced into abortions by abusive partners. The proposal to decriminalise abortion could still change or be rejected, as it's part of a bigger bill going through Parliament. If passed, it would bring the abortion laws in England and Wales in line with other Western countries, including France, Canada and Australia. Some politicians warned the amendment was rushed and could have unintended effects. Rebecca Paul, a Conservative Member of Parliament, said it could see, quote, fully developed babies be, quote, aborted by a woman with no consequences. While women under the proposed law would not face prosecution, medical professionals who assist them in getting abortions after 24 weeks would still be liable. In May, a British woman was acquitted after taking abortion pills past the legal limit, saying she didn't know how far along she was.
Time for a short break. More world news on the other side. Welcome back. A Staten Island High School senior surprised classmates at graduation by hand-painting portraits of each student. Over 2 months, Shania created 110 unique artworks as an unforgettable tribute. Take a look.
From all appearances, graduation at Notre Dame Academy on Staten Island looked like a normal ceremony, but salutatorian Sophia Nielsen
I've prepared a little surprise for all of my fellow graduates.
had a trick up her sleeve, or you might say, on her canvas. The nationally recognized artist sketched classmates on an iPad, then brought them to life in watercolor next to their yearbook pictures. All 110 of them. The process took months, and the results uncanny and stealth. Even her childhood friend Kaylee was in the dark. School leaders offering supplies and a stage for something special. What unfolded
Would please reach underneath your seats. There's something plastic taped there.
Was a medley of emotions and ultimately a standing ovation. A graduation sure to stand the test of time for an artist who paints what she feels.
I knew it was a lot of work, but I did it.
Archaeologists have uncovered Ice Age-era cap sites in the Blue Mountains, revealing that First Nations peoples occupied high-altitude shelters approximately 20,000 years ago. The Blue Mountains discovery challenges assumptions about ancient mobility in cold environments.
Its cavernous aperture would have been welcoming as winter winds roared through the valleys of the Blue Mountains. But a collaboration of archaeologists have also discovered the Dargan Shelter near Lithgow is a veritable Bunnings of ancient Indigenous tools. Those tools anchored in a trifle of sedimentary strata. 693 artefacts that help create a timeline of residency, stretching back to the last ice age 20,000 years ago, like this hammerstone.
Wow, what a beauty. And its percussion marks.
A slab of sandstone helping create needles for sewing or ceremony, 13,500 years old. The shelter largely untouched over that 20,000 years.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Akwil Qureshi, and we're leaving you tonight with the visuals of a Belgian artist showcasing her paper gowns. Also, don't forget, send in your feedback through our email address on feedback.ad24english@derana.lk, or via WhatsApp, of course, on 076 805 7933. Also, don't forget, Anuradha Vikramasinghe will be joining you next on Nightly Business Report. Thank you for watching. Good night.